Good morning, everyone. The next topic that we're going to discuss today is influenza. So, what is an influenza? An influenza is an acute respiratory tract infection. It is caused by influenza virus and it is mainly of three types: influenza A, influenza B, and influenza C. And all the pandemics are caused by influenza A strains, means whatever the pandemics that are occurring due to influenza are mainly caused by the type A influenza strains. And the characteristics will be like chills, malaise, fever, muscular pains, and cough. There will be, and this disease is mainly characterized by sudden onset of chills, malaise, fever, muscular pains, and cough. Types of influenza virus. So, as I said, there are mainly three types of influenza viruses: influenza A, influenza B, and influenza C. So, coming to influenza A is very hard to control and it will infect human and animals. It can cause epidemic and as well as it can cause pandemic, and it can occur in animals also, which is known as epizootic, and it has a special type of property known as antigenic drift and antigenic shift. Influenza B virus, so this will also occur in human beings, and it can cause outbreaks and epidemics. It can cause outbreaks and epidemics, and there is only antigenic drift. There is only antigenic drift in this type of virus, influenza B. Coming to influenza C, it will infect humans only and it can cause only mild illness. It can cause only mild illness. So I want to know what is an outbreak, what is an epidemic, and what is a pandemic. So an outbreak means a sudden rise in the incidence of disease in a population. What is an outbreak? An outbreak means it is a sudden rise in the incidence of disease in a population. So coming to epidemic, what is an epidemic? An epidemic means a widespread occurrence of an infectious disease in a community at a particular time. What is an epidemic called as? An widespread occurrence of an infectious disease in a community at a particular time is known as epidemic. Then what is pandemic? Pandemic means it is occurring over a wide geographic area and affecting an exceptionally high population. Means pandemic means it is occurring in a wide geographic area and it is affecting more number of population. It is affecting more number of population. So now you know the difference between outbreak, epidemic, and pandemic. So mainly at present there are only three types of viruses which are circulating in the world: influenza A, H1N1, influenza A, H3N2, and influenza B virus. Only these three viruses are circulating in the world at present. So this is the picture of an influenza virus when it is magnified approximately 100,000 times. You can see the picture. Coming to the epidemiological triad, mainly the epidemiological triad will include three types: agent factors, host factors, and environmental factors. So what is the agent here? The agent is nothing but the virus which is responsible for causing influenza. Influenza viruses are mainly classified within the family Orthomyxoviridae. The influenza is mainly belonging to the family Orthomyxoviridae. There are three viruses antigenically indistinct. There are mainly three types of viruses. As I said earlier, influenza A, influenza B, and influenza C. So influenza A is a unique virus because it is having a special type of property which is known as antigenic drift or antigenic shift. Influenza A has a two distinct surface antigens. It is having mainly two types of antigens: hemagglutinin, which is known as H, and neuraminidase and antigens. It is having two types of antigens, hemagglutinin and neuraminidase. So you can see it in the picture how when hemagglutinin will look like. The blue ones are called as hemagglutinin and the red ones are called as neuraminidase. Coming to the reservoir of infection. What is the reservoir of infection? Means major reservoir of human influenza virus exists in animals and birds, especially horses, dogs, cats, domestic poultry, and other type of animals. What is the source of infection here? The source of infection is a case or subclinical case is the source of infection, and secretions from the respiratory tract of an infected person. The secretions from the respiratory tract of an infection person and a case or subclinical case which is affected with the influenza. So coming to the period of infectivity, first we must know what is the incubation period of the disease. The incubation period of the disease is about 18 to 72 hours. About 18 to 72 hours. So virus is present mainly in the nasopharynx before the onset of symptoms. The virus is present in the nasopharynx before the onset of symptoms, about 1 to 2 days. So before the onset of symptoms about before 1 to 2 days the virus is present in the nasopharynx, and once the symptoms start to appear, it will persist for another 2 days. So the period of infectivity is before the symptoms appear, it will stay for 1 to 2 days, and after the symptoms are coming, it will stay for another 2 days. So what are the host factors? Host factors are here age and gender. So influenza affects all ages and both sexes, both male and female. Attack rate is lower in adults. The attack rate is compared to the children and the geriatric persons, the attack rate is very lower in the adults. Children constitute an important link in the transmission of chain. Mainly the children are constituting an important link in the transmission of the disease influenza. So you can see here direct contact transmission and respiratory droplet transmission. So the highest mortality rate during an epidemic occurs among the certain high risk groups in population. What is the high risk group population? Age group generally who are 60 years of age, because their immune system had been weakened and they are more prone to get this type of diseases. And children under 18 months, those the children who are having weak immune system under 18 months are affected in this type. And the comorbidities such as diabetes, chronic heart disease and kidney and respiratory ailments. So the main cause for the increase of this influenza disease is human mobility. See, you can see in this map here how there is human mobility. See, for every part of the world nowadays, since we are civilized, there is connectivity. So if a region in this world has an epidemic, if a region in this world has an outbreak, so the persons who are traveling from this place to another place, they are becoming carrier sources through which the disease is being transmitted from one zone to another zone. So human mobility, it is considered as an important factor in the spread of infection, since the diseases which we are facing today are all contagious diseases. So they are mainly transferred from one person to another person through direct contact or through droplet infection, so which is leading to the increase in number of cases. Then outbreak can become epidemic, and epidemic can become a pandemic. So coming to the immunity. So immunity to influenza is a subtype specific. Antibodies against HA and NA are important to immunity to influenza. So what is the protein which is present on the influenza virus? What is the proteins? The proteins which are present on the influenza A viruses are HA means hemagglutinin and NA means neuroaminidase. So these are the proteins which are present on the influenza. So if we are able to gain antibodies against these proteins, we can get an immunity against the influenza A virus. Antibodies appear in about 7 days after the attack and reach maximum level in about 2 weeks. So once the disease is occurring in a patient, the antibodies in our body will start to appear after 7 days, and the antibodies will raise to its maximum capacity at the end of second week. That means 14 days. What are all the environmental factors which are favoring this transmission? Means the seasonal incidence is striking. Mainly we can see in certain seasons the outbreak of these influenza viruses will be there. For example, if you take swine flu, it is an it can occur at any time, but it is mainly seen in the season of winter. Mainly it is seen in the season of winter because it is favorable, it has favorable conditions during the time of winter. So epidemics usually occur in winter months in northern hemisphere. In tropical countries, the virus circulates throughout the year with 1 or 2 peaks in winter. As I said earlier, in tropical countries like our countries, they are circulating throughout the year, but their peak will be seen in the month of, in the season of winters, mainly during December, January, February. These are the months which are favorable for this infection. Another cause of this influenza outbreak is enhances overcrowding. Another cause is overcrowding. So what this overcrowding does is, since it is a contagious disease, if there is one patient who is infected, is circulating in this crowd, there is more chances whenever he sneezes, whenever he comes in contact with a healthy person, there is transmission of this disease from one person to another person, which will lead to increase in more number of cases, and we will have more number of subclinical cases and clinical cases. Most number of the population who are having great immunity, they will become as a carriers, and they are able to infect the other persons who are having less immunity. The attack rates are high in close population such as groups, schools, institutions and ships. Why? Because the people who are in schools, in institutions, the people who are living in ships, the people who are living in community groups, what they are doing, they are having close contacts with each other, and they are closely compact during their lifestyle, so which will lead to increase of more number of cases. Coming to the mode of transmission. So influenza is mainly spreading from one person to another person by droplet infection or droplet nuclei. How this droplet nuclei is created means, whenever a person is sneezing and coughing or talking, the aerosols which are coming out from the person, because the virus is mainly staying in nasopharynx. The virus is mainly staying in the nasopharynx. So what will happen whenever a person speaks, whenever a person coughs, the air drops which are coming out from the person will bring out this virus also, which will form into a droplet nuclei, and it is able to infect the other person. The portal of entry of virus is through respiratory tract. How it is entering means through respiratory tract. See, when he is a healthy person, he is coming directly in contact with the other person, and the infected person, when he sneezes, he is spreading the virus into the air, which will act as a carrier. So the virus is mainly entering into to the body through respiratory tract, and it is affecting all the other parts of the body, mainly the lungs and other parts. As I said, incubation period is about 18 to 72 hours. So what is the pathogenesis here? The virus is mainly entering through respiratory tract, and it will cause inflammation and necrosis of the superficial epithelium of trachea and bronchial mucosa. What it is doing? The virus is mainly entering through respiratory tract, and it will cause inflammation and necrosis of superficial epithelium of the trachea and bronchial mucosa, followed by secondary bacterial invasion, and there is no viremia at this time. Coming to the symptoms of influenza A virus, the symptoms include fever, chills, aches and pains, coughing and generalized weakness. You can see it in the picture. There is eye pain and photosensitivity, hoarseness and sore throat, and body aches are there, chills and sweats are there, headache is there, heavy feeling of illness is there, dry cough is there, and gastrointestinal problems will include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. All these are the main possible symptoms of influenza A virus. The fever will last for about 1 to 5 days, and in adults it will average for 3 days. Mainly you can see it can last from 1 to 5 days. On an average we can take it as a 3 days. Frequent complications are acute sinusitis, otitis media, purulent bronchitis and pneumonia. What are the complications of this disease means? Sinusitis, inflammation of the middle ear, that is nothing but otitis media, and purulent bronchitis and pneumonia. The most dreaded complication is pneumonia. So you can see the more number of pneumonia cases in the influenza patients. It should be suspected if the fever persists beyond 4 or 5 days and reoccurs abruptly after convalescence. How we can say this complication of pneumonia means, when a fever is persisting for more than 5 days, you can say it is a dreadful complication, and there is more chances for the patient to develop pneumonia. Coming to laboratory diagnosis of this influenza. So clinical diagnosis is very difficult except during the epidemics. Why? Because during epidemics you can see there is large number of cases and they will exhibit similar type of symptoms. So based on the symptoms we can come to the conclusion that this person is having a particular disease based on the symptoms. During the epidemics, because it is an epidemic and all the people are having similar kind of symptoms and similar type of disease, so based on that we can diagnose it. But whereas if it is occurring in non-season time, definitely we need some laboratory diagnosis. So the first one that they are going to perform is known as virus isolation. It is known as virus isolation. In virus isolation, what they are doing is they are taking the nasopharyngeal secretions, and because these are the best specimens for obtaining large number of virus infected cells, because the virus is mainly presenting in the respiratory tract, that is nasopharynx. That's what they are taking the specimens from the nasopharyngeal secretions. The virus can be detected by indirect fluorescent antibody technique. This virus can be detected by indirect fluorescent antibody technique. And the next one is serology. What they are doing? They are using the ELISA test, enzyme linked immunosorbent assay test. With the help of this ELISA, they are doing the serology investigation. So how we can prevent the influenza? It is a communicable disease. And it is transmitted from one person to another person through direct contact, or when a person who is infected coughs, sneezes and shakes his hand. Whenever the secretions which are coming out from the infected person is coming in contact with the healthy person, the disease is being transmitted from one person to another person. So how we can prevent means, we can prevent this infection, this disease, mainly through optimal preventive measures, that is good ventilation of public buildings. How we can prevent is good ventilation of public buildings and avoidance of crowded places during the epidemics. So whenever there is a increase in the incidence of the disease, if you avoid large number of crowding places, that's what they are advising us to stay in home to avoid this overcrowding, which will help to decrease, mainly help to break the chain of infection, so that the infection is not spreaded to the other persons. And we have to do self protection by wearing the mask. So if a person is infected with this influenza virus, we have to encourage that person to use handkerchiefs. We have to encourage the person to become isolated. Whenever he is sneezing and coughing, what he has to do? He has to keep a handkerchief or any kind of cloth, so that the droplets which are coming out are not spilled into air, or it is not spilled on other persons. We have to do hand washing. We have to use personal protective equipment, encouraging the sufferers to cover their faces with handkerchief and coughing and sneezing, to stay at home at the first sign of influenza. How we have to encourage them? We have to encourage them to cover their face while they are coughing and sneezing, and we have to instruct them, we have to educate them, we have to motivate them to stay in their homes whenever we find the first symptom of influenza, so that we can prevent the chain of infection. The vaccine is not recommended to control spread in the general population. In view of changing antigenic structures, antigenic shift and antigenic drift, new vaccines are constantly required. So what this point is saying? The vaccine is not recommended for general population, because influenza A type of virus is having special property is called as antigenic drift and antigenic shift. What this one is doing here? So because of this property, it is constantly changing its shape. So antigenic drift means these are small changes in the genes of influenza virus or mutation that will lead to changes in the surface proteins of the virus. What are the surface proteins of the virus? Hemagglutinin and neuraminidase. So what is happening in antigenic drift means there are small types of mutations that are occurring in the virus, which is leading to the change in the shape of the protein. So it will be difficult for our body to recognize that protein and to produce antibodies against it. So coming to the immunity of our body, if once a person is affected with influenza A virus, the antibodies in our body will start to produce after 7 days, and they will reach to their maximum capacity by 14 days. So once the surface protein shape is changed, it is very hard for our body and for our scientists to discover new types of vaccines. So that's what they are not giving vaccination to all the people who are affected. And the next one is antigenic shift. What is antigenic shift means? Antigenic shift is an abrupt major change in an influenza virus. Means it is antigenic shift is causing a major change in the influenza A virus. A virus resulting a new hemagglutinin or new neuroaminidase protein. So in antigenic drift, just it is changing the shape, but whereas in antigenic shift, it is changing into new protein. It is producing new hemagglutinin or new neuroaminidase. So influenza virus that will result in new influenza, a new subtype in humans. So as I said earlier regarding swine flu is a disease which was recognized in the year 1919. But what happened means, recently in 2009 there is a change in its mutation, there is a change in its protein shape which resulted in new H1N1 virus, that is swine flu, and it caused a pandemic which had occurred all around the world. So because of this property of antigenic drift and antigenic shift, so if you are vaccinating the individuals, whenever this influenza is coming again to the person, it is changing its shape and it is occurring which is leading to the, since influenza vaccines will not control epidemics, they are recommended in only certain selected population groups. Example which groups? Police, fire protection, transport, medical staff, and other susceptible groups such as elderly people and people who are having comorbidities, because they are having high risk of death and they are having decreased. These elderly people and comorbidity people they are having weak immunities. These people are more prone to get this disease. And we have some emergency staff such as police, fire protection, transport, and medical care. So if we are able to protect these people and public servants, if we are able to protect this population, all the critical cares that should be done can be prevented during the epidemic times. For example, if you see this corona type, which people are becoming frontline warriors, especially the medical staff, the policemen, the fire person, and the government staff, they are working day and night. And if you are able to provide vaccination for these people, all the critical cares that should be needed for the society can be continued in the same way. But if you are giving vaccination for each and every person in the society, since there is a special property called antigenic drift and antigenic shift, the vaccination may become useless and it will increase the economic cost of the state or the country. So that's what they are doing. They are giving to the only important person, only to the frontline workers, so that they can treat the persons who got this infection. So coming to the influenza vaccine, there are different types of influenza vaccine available. First one is killed vaccine. So most influenza vaccination programs make use of inactivated vaccine. The recommended vaccine strains of vaccine production are grown in a allotonic cavity of a developing chick embryos, harvested, purified, killed by formalin or beta propiolactin, and standardized according to the hemagglutinin. The vaccine is conveniently formulated in aqueous or saline suspension. The dose of the vaccine contains approximately 15 micrograms of hemagglutinin. So you can see you can see in the picture the production of the vaccine, mainly in which they are producing it in the allotonic cavity of a developing chick embryos, because the influenza virus is one of reservoir is the birds, dogs, and the horses and other pet animals. Since it is the birds are the reservoir, you can use the eggs, means that is the allotonic cavity of the developing chick embryo. See in this picture they are clearly showing you how they are producing the vaccination. The vaccine is administered by subcutaneous or intramuscular route. They are administering it by subcutaneous or intramuscular route. A single inoculation 0.5 ml for adults and children over 3 years, and 0.5 ml for children from 6 months to 36 months of age is usually given. In adults, and how much they are giving for adults? They are giving about 0.5 ml, and for 3 years also they are giving 0.5 ml. If the child is 6 to 36 months old, they are giving only 0.25 ml. Through which route they are giving? They are giving through subcutaneous route. After vaccination, there is an increase in serum body about 2 weeks. Once the vaccine is introduced into the body, the person will gain maximum capacity by 2 weeks. The protective value of the vaccine varies between 70 to 90%. If a person is received vaccine against a particular disease, means against this influenza A virus, the protection is about 70 to 90%. And revaccination on an annual basis is recommended. This is not a lifelong immunity. What they are doing, what we need to do, annually we need to get a booster dose. Coming to the second one, live attenuated vaccines. Live attenuated vaccines based on the temperature sensor mutants have been extensively used. What they are using? They are using the live attenuated vaccines. These are administered as nose drops. Mainly this type of vaccine is administered through nose drops. They stimulate local as well as systematic immunity. What they are doing, these live attenuated vaccines, they are stimulating the local immunity as well as the systemic immunity. The frequent antigenic mutations of influenza virus present difficulties in the production of effective vaccines, particularly live attenuated vaccines. What this sentence is saying means, because of the special property of this influenza virus, antigenic drift and antigenic shift, frequently it is changing its shape and structure, which is becoming more challenging for producing the effective vaccine for this influenza A type, particularly live attenuated vaccine. So this is the influenza vaccine which is given through nasal, route. Like this they are going to administer this vaccine. So there are other types of newer vaccines such as split virus vaccine. This is also known as subvariant vaccine. It is highly purified vaccine producing fewer side effects than the whole virus vaccine. What they are doing, because of the lower antigenicity, it requires several injections instead of single one. It is recommended for children. It is mainly recommended for children. So this is how an influenza virus split vaccine will look like. What they are doing, they are splitting the vaccine. They are splitting the virus vaccine. So what it is having, it is having a low immunogenicity. It is having low antigenicity. So if we are able to give in small and frequent doses, the antibody levels will increase in the body. Instead of giving one single dose, if you give one single dose, there is less production of antibodies. So if you are giving large number of, means instead of single dose, if you are giving 3 to 4 doses, it will increase immunogenicity and antibody levels will increase in the body. And the next one is neuraminidase specific vaccine. So what is this neuraminidase? It is one type of antigen, it is one type of protein which is present on the influenza virus. So it is a subunit vaccine containing only the N antigen, means neuraminidase antigen. It induces antibodies only to the neuraminidase antigen of the prevailing influenza virus. Antibody to neuraminidase reduces both the amount of virus replicating in the respiratory tract and the ability to transmit the virus to the contact. So what this one is doing, it is decreasing the ability of the virus to replicate. So in the absence of this protein, with the suppression of this neuraminidase, hemagglutinin alone cannot split the virus, means cannot develop into another stage. So if we are able to prevent this one, we are controlling the spread of infection and we are also preventing the replication of bacteria. It significantly reduces clinical symptoms in infected person but permits subclinical infection, and it may give rise to lasting immunity. And the next one is recombinant vaccine. By recombinant techniques, the desirable antigenic properties of virulent strain can be transferred to another strain known to be the low of virulence. Efforts to improve influenza vaccine are continuing in several directions. Coming to the antiviral drugs. So till now we have discussed regarding the vaccination. Coming to the antiviral drugs. So due to the limitations in the efficacy of influenza vaccine, antiviral drugs have been tried for the prophylaxis and therapy. So there is lots of limitations in the influenza vaccine. Why? Because of the special property called as antigenic drift and antigenic shift. If you are vaccinating all the people, again it is changing its shape, and there is a requirement for new vaccine again. So in order to prevent that, for prophylaxis they are using some antiviral drugs. So two neuraminidase inhibitors such as zanamivir and oseltamivir. These are given for the prophylaxis of influenza A and influenza B. So oseltamivir, which is available in the form of Fluivir in the market, it is given as 75 mg per day for prophylaxis, twice daily for 5 days. So this is how it is available in the form of Fluivir. It is available in the form of tablets and as well as syrup. Syrup is mainly given for the children and tablets are given for the adults. Zamavir, you can see zanamavir here. It is administered by inhaler. 10 mg dose. It is given daily for the therapy and once daily for the prophylaxis. It is given twice daily for the therapy. If a person is infected with influenza A type virus, what they are doing, for therapy they are giving twice daily. If it is prophylaxis, they are giving once daily. Current recommendation for the treatment of influenza is zanamivir or combination of oseltamivir and rimantidine. So what is the current recommendation for treatment of influenza A virus is zanamivir or combination of oseltamivir and rimantidine. Current recommendation for the treatment for influenza B is either oseltamivir or zanamivir. So for chemoprophylaxis against influenza A, zanamivir should be used. If it is contraindicated, rimantidine can be used. In outbreak associated with influenza B, either oseltamivir or zanamivir can be used for prophylaxis. So this is regarding influenza and its treatment. So if there is any queries, you can let me in the comments. You can let me know in the comments and I will clarify you. If not, you can contact to my personal number. Thanks you for watching. Hope you understood.